Welcome. Time for a quick roundup of what's happening in Missouri politics. Recently, the Missouri GOP tried to push through a tax credit that specifically excluded the poorest one-third of Missourians. While that didn't make it over the finish line, they planned to bring it back from the dead by adding an amendment to HB 2090. This amendment does the same thing as the last. It's a so-called $500 non-refundable tax credit. But you may not be surprised to hear that's not quite that simple. But when the devil hiding in the details gets pointed out, well, see for yourself.
This is such a missed opportunity for all of us. If you really look at the amount of money that is gathered through taxes in Missouri, income taxes and all the various forms of sales taxes, it's almost 50-50. We could have done this in a way that the people who would benefit the most, the people who are buying all kinds of stuff for their kids, the people who have all those pairs of shoes, the people who are buying clothes for their kids, the people who are trying to scrape enough money together for the kids to go to church camp or to go to sports camp, to play on teams. We could have been giving the money to them.
I went over and talked to the people that do this. I said, just give me a ballpark number. And they're thinking that people that qualify for up to $500, if everybody that is available or I guess qualified to receive this rebate with the $500 million that we are approving or authorizing this bill, they're only going to probably get less than half of that, around $200 per single. We could assume a married couple getting $400. So with us not adding more money to this $500 million, we can go out and say all day long, we're going to give you back a $500 or $1,000. That's what will be in the headlines. But in all actuality, until those numbers come in, we really don't know. And if we've got a ballpark, it's probably going to be 200 and 400, which is, to me, it's misleading to the public.
We are now almost at the end of session, which means it's Christmas in May. A bill is commonly referred to as a Christmas tree when a bunch of amendments have been added as gifts for politicians. HB 3020, a $3 billion Missouri budget bill, has thrown on that Santa suit and is ready to go.
This is a spending bill. It's not a tax relief bill.
There's a lot of good stuff in this bill. However, $3 billion budget in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Didn't vet it. Didn't even debate it. People went to the back rooms, they made some deals, and you got your stuff, you got your stuff. Go talk to your people on the other side to make sure they vote for it too. That's not the way it should be done. We let the Senate go to the buffet, and the only thing they gave us was the croutons on the salad.
And there's all types of things in here. There's $3 million for an airport in St. Charles so that one of our senators can land his plane.
Ooh.
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 Ooh. How about that?
They have fun. There appear to be some good things in there, for sure. But considering that House members only had 12 hours to read and vote on a multi-billion-dollar budget, I'll tell you, I am sure the fiscally conservative Republicans in Missouri, it passed. Got you. Let's do some good news because the rest of this video is going to get pretty heavy. The Missouri House and Senate have come together in committee to finalize the budget for next year, and I'm happy to report they did their job. You may recall that here in Missouri, starting teacher pay is the lowest in the country at $25,000. Based on the agreed upon budget, starting teacher pay will be raised to $38,000. This should be a huge win for Missouri teachers and a huge win for the state's ability to recruit and combat the serious teacher shortage going on in Missouri. It's still way too low if you ask me, but teachers are generally underpaid across the entire country, so that's more of an everywhere problem instead of just a Missouri problem. So let's give them a little applause for doing the bare minimum. Many seem upset by this ad.
Where are you headed?
We were just out for a drive.
Headed to the border?
Oh, no. We were just going up to the...
Hey there. What's your name?
Grace.
Are you pregnant, Grace?
Does not have to
Yes, she does.
No.
Show me your hands on the wheels, please. Grace, step out of the vehicle. On the wheel.
They say it's unfair or hyperbolic or untrue, and to that I say, I'm sorry if the truth is ugly and uncomfortable, but that's reality. Or it will be in the state of Missouri once Roe officially falls. Now, this is going to get more uncomfortable, so you can skip the rest if you don't want to hear it, but I'm going to walk you through all of the laws in Missouri around abortion, showing exactly why this is very real and even worse. In 2019, the Missouri GOP passed an 8-week abortion ban, but it has a trigger law that goes into effect now that Roe looks destined to fall. Once triggered, this would likely be sometime around June. Abortion is illegal in Missouri from conception. That's pre-implantation, meaning birth control that prevents implantation like Plan B or the morning after pill would also be illegal. No exceptions for rape or incest or health of the mother unless it's a medical emergency that would result in death or substantial and irreversible impairment. Also, it must be considered immediate danger, so presumably that means the doctors are going to have to wait in the example of situations like ectopic pregnancies until an immediate threat to a woman's life is present. There's no exception for viability either. So if, for example, you find out your baby hasn't developed major organs, you'd be forced to carry it to full term and have a stillbirth, or maybe watch your baby suffer and die immediately, putting your health and life at risk. No choice in the matter at all. There are additional consequences of these laws that clearly the overzealous authors didn't comprehend. Even in vitro fertilization would be at risk. This is the practice of assisted reproduction, in which the sperm and egg are combined outside of the body in a laboratory dish, then implanted into a woman's body. Right now, it's standard practice for doctors to fertilize more eggs than are strictly necessary, because the process of producing and having eggs harvested is difficult and expensive. The more eggs that are fertilized, the more likely there will be one that's successfully implanted into the womb. It's not uncommon for doctors to implant more than one fertilized egg at a time. If all the fertilized eggs take, then doctors will do a selective reduction. So, if 5 eggs are implanted as an example, they will take out 3, so 2 of them can survive and be carried to term. That practice would be severely criminalized under Missouri's trigger law, because all of those eggs are considered an unborn child by law. This would mean that fertility clinics would leave Missouri, or those that would remain could only offer a process that's much more expensive and difficult. What about miscarriages? Surely there's nothing gross or enraging that this law does to women who have a miscarriage, right? Well, the burden of truth in Missouri law is on you to prove that you didn't get an abortion. Meaning, if you have a miscarriage and someone accuses you of that being on purpose, you'd have to defend yourself in court. That's right. After experiencing the unbelievably difficult situation that is a miscarriage, you might have to prove in court that it wasn't an abortion. I know, it sounds unbelievable, but this is how the law is written. We haven't even begun to talk about the penalties. It would make inducing any abortion a Class B felony. That's 5 to 15 years in jail. Y'all, that's possibly a steeper penalty than rape in Missouri. But some reps, like Brian Seitz, have suggested way more serious punishment.
Do you know the range of punishment for a Class A felony?
No, I do not.
It's a minimum of 10 years in prison to a maximum of 30 years in prison or life. So you're talking severe penalties.
It's a very serious issue. I think that penalty is probably not even strict enough.
And so you'd even go as far as offering the death penalty as a solution?
We'll have to look at that in other legislation.
The GOP claims the pregnant person is immune from prosecution. But the law states they are immune to prosecution for conspiracy to the abortion, if the abortion is performed on them. They could still be prosecuted for the crime of inducing the abortion if they do it on themselves. This is very real, and they're not done. There are more anti-choice restrictions to come here in Missouri. HB 2012 makes selling abortion-inducing drugs come with a 5 to 15-year prison sentence. SB 1202 empowers law enforcement and the state government to actively investigate and hunt down any suspected of participating in abortion, likely leading to tracking of women's health history. This already happened in 2019. The Missouri Health Director testified to tracking women's menstrual cycles to gather potential abortion data. Additionally, this bill recognizes unborn resident status at conception, even if conception happens in Missouri between out-of-state residents or outside of Missouri with a Missouri resident, an abortion would be a crime, even if that abortion happens outside of Missouri. So maybe you're watching this and maybe you're different than me. I think these laws are unfair, cruel, and really fundamental violations of people's rights. But I'll ask you, are you comfortable with this? Are you comfortable with taking the morning after pill, carrying a 15-year prison sentence? Are you comfortable with no exceptions for rape or incest? Are you comfortable with no exception for viability, forcing a mother to carry a non-viable pregnancy to full term, potentially putting the life of mom at risk? Are you comfortable with the state asserting so much control over a woman and girl's body that police will be empowered to hunt down a mom trying to get across the state border to allow her 14-year-old daughter who has been a victim of rape or incest to get an abortion? I'll tell you, there's one thing you don't have to ask yourself. Is this the coming reality? Because it sure as shit is. Protest, organize, vote. It's up to us to stop this insanity.